Good evening, everyone. I'm student meteorologist Daniela Streety, and welcome to the Friday night edition of FSU Weather. Currently behind Doak Campbell Stadium, gray skies across the area as we had some rain this afternoon, but thankfully we got some cooler temperatures. 78 right now, cloudy skies, winds from the south-southeast at roughly 7 miles an hour, and those more mild temperatures are sitting across the Big Bend and South Georgia, seeing those 78 in Tallahassee, 79 in Quincy, 74 Marietta as the cooler spot in our area. And currently we still have some more lingering showers and storms, especially to our west, seeing some in Marietta and heading towards Dothan as well. So we're not quite out of the woods yet in terms of the rain, but hopefully a lot of you have enjoyed this, as we haven't seen rain in several weeks, at least for most of the area. So definitely good for us and beneficial rain for sure. And across the tropics, Hurricane Humberto is one of the stories for the tropics today. This morning, just a tropical storm, or excuse me, a Cat 1 hurricane, now has beginning to rapidly intensify to a major hurricane, currently sitting at a Category 3 status, expecting to further intensify. We'll get more into that in a second. So again, today the story, lots of activity in the tropics, a rainy start to our weekend, and Fierce Forces Friday. All this and more on FSU Weather. Well, good evening again, y'all. So happy Friday. I know this week, in the past several weeks, we have dealt with a lot of heat across the Big Bend and South Georgia, especially on campus. I haven't seen rain or felt raindrops since the Alabama game, and that was the greatest cool down I think I could have experienced. But today we had a little bit of rain, a lot more rain across the area. Some people yesterday saw some scattered showers and storms as well. And thankfully this cold front is going to give us a little bit of relief. It's not going to be more like our traditional cold fronts in the fall and winter, but it's going to bring a lot cooler and drier air into the region, making conditions slightly more tolerable. But again, it's going to be a while before we see some rain again. But the big story today is we are seeing a ramp up in the tropics, which we'll get into in just a second here, as we can see two systems of potentially forming in the next couple of days. So as we track the tropics, right now we are at Humberto at H on our list. Next up is I, which is Imelda, and that's the story that we're going to talk about this evening, one of two at least. So right now, tracking Humberto, 5 p.m. advisory from the National Hurricane Center. It's sitting at a Category 3 status, winds at 115 miles per hour. Pressure has dropped to 962 millibars, and it is moving very, very slowly west-northwesterly at 5 miles an hour, expected to continue to intensify at least to Category 4 status. And again, we can take a look at the cone here. It's expecting, thankfully, to stay away from land and become another one of our fish storms for this hurricane season, taking that north turn and then turning back northeast away from land, and possibly even avoiding Bermuda as well, as they have been very fortunate this hurricane season. But again, expecting to intensify at least to Cat 4 status. Cat 5 is not likely at the moment, but it is still possible, seeing that there's a lot of warm waters there in the Atlantic. And our next area of concern is potential tropical cyclone 9, which is soon to be Imelda. As a 5 p.m. advisory, it's sitting at 35 miles per hour, as it's now created a centralized low pressure system. It is only 4 miles an hour shy of becoming tropical storm status, and pressure is expected to drop throughout tonight and into tomorrow. As we take a close eye on that, in terms of its cone, it is supposed to sit going a northerly trajectory. So we see here it's starting just north of Cuba, expecting to go through the Bahamas as it develops into a tropical storm. And then a lot of uncertainty here as we see this big sphere almost around at the end of the cone, expected to reach possibly hurricane status, but because of Humberto to its southeast rather, it can interact with the trajectory of landfall and as well as the strength of future Imelda. So there's a lot of uncertainty within the forecast because of that. And we can even see here in the spaghetti models, we see mostly a consensus that it's going to hit the eastern coast, mostly towards coastal Georgia and the Carolinas. However, we do see a little bit of models straggling to shifting the storm back to the east. Reasoning why it's changed a little bit. So this is the latest run right now, a more westerly turn, but just 2 runs ago, it was more to the east. And again, this is what we call the Fujiwhara effect, possibly within these 2 storms, which is affecting the trajectory and impact. So as you can take a look here into the next couple of days, right here is Humberto strengthening, and as well as Imelda trying to form. It is, again, this interaction here can impact whether Imelda continues to stay hurricane status, maybe even choke and become a tropical depression and weaken, and also whether if it continues to stay off the coast or make landfall between coastal Georgia and the Carolinas. So there's a lot of different scenarios that could bring for this weekend, but regardless, we can expect some tropical storm force winds across the Carolina coast as well as coastal Georgia. That is possible, as well as life-threatening rip currents this weekend. And here again, just to bring us into perspective, we've had this cold front that has moved through the southeast today that has brought a good amount of rain, beneficial for much of the region. However, a lot of rain has accumulated into the Carolinas, which is our major concern, because if Imelda makes that landfall early next week, that is a lot more rain that they really need, especially as we're coming to the 1-year anniversary of Hurricane Helene. This is the last thing the Carolinas need, as they are still in the process of recovering. So this is an extreme area of concern. Those in the Carolinas and coastal Georgia this weekend do need to make hurricane preparations, and hope you have those lists in place to be prepared. So again, just for hurricane safety, make sure to stay weather aware and watch for updates from the National Hurricane Center as well as your local news stations. Take action and stock up on your supplies and evaluate evacuation routes as well. Listen to local officials when evacuating, as that is important. Storm surge is a dangerous phenomenon to deal with. But now we're going to move on into our Fierce Forces Friday, which we're discussing with the tropics. Perfect timing is the Fujiwhara effect. So how does it work exactly? It is when 2 hurricanes are traveling close to each other and begin to dance around their common center. So usually the smaller hurricane, which in the example that we can kind of use right now is Imelda potentially, the smaller hurricane can orbit the larger one and become absorbed by it. And when we mean by absorbed, we don't necessarily mean we're going to have this super hurricane category 6 type thing that some people may talk about. But actually, if one is absorbed, a larger hurricane can be produced. However, it's not definite that it will be necessarily stronger. If not, it can actually become a little bit weaker. And both cyclones can spin around each other and then split off into different directions. So that's why we kind of discuss these scenarios with Imelda and Humberto as we go on into the next couple of days. But that interaction of how fast they strengthen and where they move in the next 12 to 24 hours is going to be very pivotal as to if we really have this effect setting in our scenarios for this season. And here's an example from Hurricane Irwin and Hurricane Hillary in 2017. You see these 2 storms kind of beginning to orbit each other, and then one just kind of completely gets eaten up and absorbed and kind of dies out, and they both kind of die out on themselves as well. So that is a potential scenario and a great example of what the Fujiwhara effect does. And again, we can use the future radars of Humberto and Imelda using the graph model here. So you see Humberto staying well to the southeast as Imelda tries to shift north and strengthen as well. And again, depending on that interaction, how strong the storms are, will determine whether they break away or move up farther east, or maybe even Imelda, future Imelda, we will begin to dissipate as well. So lots of tropics, lots of crazy phenomenons going on across the Atlantic right now. Definitely a rare scenario, a very interesting one at that. And we'll even take a look here back at the local, circling things back to home. We see Doak Campbell Stadium, lots of gray skies as the sun will begin to set very soon. And again, those temperatures sitting in the either side of 70, 79 in Tallahassee, even 80 in Carabel. So again, we're seeing a little bit less of those oranges and reds. We're seeing a different fall gradient today in terms of temperatures, which is really nice for us. But again, still slightly below average because of the rain, but we've been staying pretty above average for several days now, even for a couple of weeks. Wishing wishing we can get some 60s back in our morning lows, which is possible after this cold front has passed today. So again, we still got those showers, straggling showers to our west, especially here in Mariana and approaching Dothan. Waycross seeing some isolated showers as well. One thing to keep in note of this rain still in the Gulf may still have enough energy to even produce thunderstorms, especially going into Taylor County, which we can see for tonight. See this very large blob of thunderstorms going into Taylor County as well as Madison as well. So we can expect some strong to severe thunderstorms within those areas as those storms begin to strengthen from the Gulf. So something to keep aware of if you're in those regions tonight or driving along I-10. That is important to note when you are traveling. But going into the rest of the weekend, maybe an isolated shower or two and some passing clouds. We're going to begin to see that cooler, drier air begin to kick in for this start of your work week next week as well. So again, those straggling showers are possible, but again, not everyone will see rain, won't be a complete washout. Today was probably the most rain we will see for quite some time, and those lows tonight before the cold front fully sets in, we're going to drop into the upper 60s, low 70s, so a little bit more on the cooler, drier side across the region for tonight. And if you're going out, this will be good, comfortable weather. Again, maybe there's some isolated thunderstorms through the area, dropping into the upper 60s to low 70s tomorrow. A little bit cooler, so we're not quite seeing the 90s, thankfully, but we will see those mid to upper 80s tomorrow. 84 in St. Mark's, 87 in Quincy as well. So mostly uniform forecast for the Big Bend and South Georgia tomorrow, and those rain chances are going to continue to remain low for the next week, sitting at highest at 20%. So again, isolated showers and storms are possible throughout the week, but mostly drier conditions are what we are going to expect. And for your 7-day forecast, lots of sunshine to go around. Still doesn't quite feel like fall yet, but we're hoping soon we're going to get that cold front that's going to segue us into fall. But for now, enjoy those upper 80s and those upper 60s in the morning and lots of sunshine. Now we're going to move on into Florida. So across Florida, we see a lot of mix of gray skies as well as some beautiful cumulus clouds around Tampa as well. Miami seeing some gray skies as well, mostly sitting in the 80s and 90s. Orlando not seeing as much rain as the rest of Florida has seen today, staying a little bit on that hotter side. So we can see here again that red area staying between Central and South Florida. 87 in Orlando right now, 86 in Miami, staying in the upper 70s in Jacksonville and Pensacola as well. So as we see our South Florida radar, we see some pop-up showers and thunderstorms across the I-95 corridor going into Miami and West Palm Beach. So those commuting, make sure to be wary of that as you're traveling across I-75 as well and onto I-4. Isolated showers and storms are possible, especially as you're going towards Deltona and Daytona Beach. So again, those traveling across rush hour there, make sure to be careful and drive safe. Across the Big Bend, we can see again, most of the rain from this cold front is starting to pass. We still have some left to go to our west throughout tonight, and that's where we can still see a potential strong shower or thunderstorm towards the Big Bend coast tonight as well. As we move across Florida for the weekend, see some showers and storms moving on into Tampa, and again some showers and storms off the Atlantic coast of South Florida. And then again we can see it creep in as the weekend goes on, starting to see Imelda forming, so we may get to see some showers and storms from Imelda as she begins to form as well. So something to watch out for. Definitely some dangerous rip currents to watch out for this weekend, especially if you're going to the beaches on the Atlantic side. So Miami, for instance, you might probably get rained out because of the formations of Imelda and the outer bands and all the moisture within that area. So rain chances are going to remain high this weekend. Temperatures will remain cooler, however, and it will dry out going into early next week, but probably not the best weekend to go enjoy the beach and outside activities in Miami this weekend. As we go into Tampa, a little bit on the drier side for the most part, but we will see a little bit warmer temperatures. About 50-50 chance of rain for your Saturday, so those isolated showers and thunderstorms are possible. Same goes for Sunday, but you're going to be a little bit on the warmer side on Sunday and starting your work week off in the upper 90s, dropping a little bit into the low 80s, but mostly uniform for your morning lows as well. Plenty of sunshine to go around. And for Orlando, Orlando. Some cloudy skies for tomorrow, isolated showers and storms for Sunday and Monday, but again, staying a little bit on the cooler side, kind of staying away from those 90s, thankfully. Again, those morning lows in the low to mid 70s. Jacksonville for this weekend, it's probably going to see some rain because of Imelda's development. That's likely going to impact the region in some way, shape, or form. It's more scattered showers and thunderstorms possible for your Sunday. Starting your work week off on a slightly soggy start, staying in those low 80s, however, so we will see a little bit of a cool down, which will be nice for those at Jax. So tonight, mostly mild temperatures. We're seeing a little bit of those greens. Hopefully, sometime soon we're going to see greens across the whole entire state of Florida, but for now we're seeing 69 in Talley and Tampa, 77 in Fort Myers, staying in those 80s towards South Florida, Miami, and Key West. Tomorrow we're going to see a lot of either side of 90 across the Florida Peninsula, 87 in Tampa with those chances of showers and storms, even potentially 90s in Orlando as the hot spot for tomorrow. So lots to go around in Florida and in the southeast as well. We're going to see a little bit more sunshine as this cold front pushes through, at least for the most western areas of the southeast. Tampa right now sitting at 85. Nashville, beautiful skies over Vanderbilt sitting at 83. And we're also seeing 83 in Birmingham as well as 86 in New Orleans. So across the southeast, even though we had this cold front push through, you can kind of see it a little bit, those rain-cooled areas across the southeast. We're seeing 87 in Montgomery, 78 in Tallahassee, 82 in Charlotte. Seeing a little bit warmer temperatures, 82 in Little Rock, 86 in Shreveport. So again, we're still seeing those reds across the southeast. Still kind of looks like a lava pool as I've been describing the past couple of weeks. Not much has changed quite yet, but again, across the live radar, much of the rain is staying isolated to the Gulf as well as into the coastal Georgia areas and South Carolina. And that's kind of where that's going to continue, as most of the rest of the southeast has already got their share of rain for today. But that's thankfully good for us. I know sometimes for rain in our region, we typically get concerned about flash flood risks, but today thankfully this rain has been very beneficial for us, as we haven't seen a whole lot of rain in several weeks. So this rain is considered super beneficial to us. Hopefully Memphis will get a little bit more rain to help their more extreme drought conditions, but most of the southeast is definitely looking a lot better, a lot more hydrated than we previously have had it earlier this week. So going into the future radar, mostly clear as that cold front pushes into southeast, bringing those drier conditions. However, we also have Imelda again forming out the coast early next week, and that trajectory is yet to be determined due to the interactions between the two storms. And so for tonight, we're going to stay mostly mild, 60s in Jackson, Little Rock, and Shreveport, seeing the little bit of effects of that cold front. Florida, not quite yet, so we can actually probably spot the cold front with the temperature gradient here across the southeast as we get to the Panhandle, Atlanta, and Charlotte. So hopefully by tomorrow night, we'll get a little bit of those greens and yellows into our region. But for tomorrow, again, those upper 80s across the board for the southeast, with the exception of Orlando sitting, and Shreveport for that matter, sitting nice and warm in the 90s. Everyone else staying in the low to upper 80s. So lots to go around, a sunshine and some clouds, but those Carolinas and the more closer to the Atlantic coast are going to see more rain chances, especially going into early next week. Birmingham's going to be nice and clear this weekend, slightly on the warmer side, still seeing those 90s, not quite the cool down you may have expected when that cold front came through, but those morning lows are going to be really nice in those 60s. Going into Charlotte, this is where a place of concern is. We have lots of rain chances to go around. They still get a lot of rain from this cold front, so that's going to keep them on the cooler side. However, the potential effects of Imelda will also have them continue to have high rain chances going into early next week, which can bring some flooding concerns for the Charlotte area. New Orleans already had that cold front pass through today, seeing lots of sunny skies, almost no rain to worry about, sitting in those upper 80s. Morning lows sitting in the low 70s, so they're going to be nice and comfortable and sunny this weekend if you're planning to travel to New Orleans to have a fun outdoor event. And now we're going to take a look at the national. So right now we're seeing some severe thunderstorm watches across Arizona, and as well as some flash flood warnings as well. So we can take a look at our live radar. Again, most of the country staying dry, exceptions for that cold front moving through the southeast. And again, we have this potential for severe weather in Arizona. So we can take a zoom in right here as we see severe thunderstorm watch is in effect just outside of Phoenix. We also have flash flood warnings. We previously had a severe thunderstorm warning that has now expired. So But those still traveling around the I-17 and I-10 corridors do need to be careful as you're traveling for rush hour or soon the rush hour across those areas. So current temperatures across the U.S. are sitting almost above average once again. Another day, another above average one. So Seattle and a little bit on the cooler spots sitting at 67. Most of the rest of the country is sitting in those upper 70s to lower 80s. Even seeing 90 down here in San Antonio. I don't think Texas has gotten much of a break from the heat, and they definitely deserve some. So again, that drought has been a little bit better towards the eastern side of the country. Out west, hopefully those storms in Arizona will help this a little bit. However, again, that's why those flash flood risks are imminent right now. We have had a lot of drought conditions out west, and again, that lot of rain in a short period of time can lead to that flash flooding, which can be dangerous. So again, hopefully some of this will continue to go away for a little bit, but thankfully for us, the showers and storms that we will get going into our weekend will continue to be non-severe. And as we could take a look into the future radar, you can see most of this beginning to dry out towards out west, but then again, the real story is going to be here on the east coast once again, as we have a lot of rain potentially going back into the Carolinas. And here we are for the rainfall predictions going into early next week. A little bit of accumulation towards the southwest side of the country, but again, flooding concerns for sure for South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia. So the whole lower eastern seaboard for next week. Definitely some concerns of flash flooding. But temperatures will continue to be mostly above average with the exceptions of this little cold pool up in the Pacific Northwest, and then a lot of rain cooled below average temperatures to the Atlantic coast for the next week and a half. So going into tonight, we're going to see some 50s. Some people are going to get some fall conditions to the northern parts of the country. 47 in Billings, 58 in Salt Lake City. Let's see in a more milder 60s and 70s towards the southeast. Out west, we're even seeing much of a similar story. 66 in Los Angeles, 58 in San Francisco. So for tomorrow, it's going to ramp right back up to what it kind of has been for the past several days. 90s again towards the plains and the southeast. A little bit on the cooler side towards up north in the 70s. And again, California and the Pacific Northwest will also see those 70s. So it's almost kind of uniform across the United States. We're seeing a little bit of those milder spots, but overall we're staying above average and continue to do so for the next several days. But now let's go into our theme park of the week. Let's travel to Six Flags over Texas. And here again, we're sitting at 92 and sunny. Southwest winds at 4 miles an hour. So pretty good conditions to go out to the park in Arlington today. And if you're going to go out for the rest of the night, or into tomorrow rather, staying pretty comfortable in those 60s. If you go really early in the morning, it'll be very, very nice to do so. And we can also reach up into those 80s and 90s tomorrow. So make sure to hydrate, get that sunscreen, especially if you're going to be riding roller coasters. It'll be a really good time to hydrate. Don't get too dizzy, guys, on those roller coasters. I've been there and done that. Don't want to do it again. So for the next couple of days into your weekend, we're seeing mostly clear conditions going into your Saturday and Sunday. Just a couple of passing clouds. So expect a lot of dry weather, no rain delays to be concerned about either. And going into the rest of the weekend into early next week, again, we're going to see those lower 90s, potentially even those upper 80s as well. So overall, uniform forecast, no rain expected in the forecast. Texas has been fairly hot and dry, and it'll continue to do so as well. And so now we're going to move on into the lifestyle. So we're going to see across campus those gray skies are still lingering, especially across the Sportsplex and the lakefront. So we're going to see again going out tonight. It's going to be quite comfortable. Again, there's still just chances of isolated showers and thunderstorms sitting in the 70s, however, so it will be a little bit cooler than it has been in previous nights if you have gone out. So may not need a light jacket to bring tonight. I think you're going to be all good to just wear shorts and a t-shirt tonight. Dog walk forecast for tomorrow morning. It's going to be a little bit more on the comfortable side tomorrow morning if you walk your furry friend in the upper 60s. As that sun gets out, it's going to start to warm up a little bit, sitting in the low to upper 70s by mid-morning. Going into the airport delays, thankfully we're all clear here at Tallahassee International, and that is mostly the trend for the rest of our major airports across the country. So if you're planning to travel and fly out anywhere this weekend, don't expect any delays. It'll be quite nice. And now we're going to move on into our game day. So tonight, Florida State plays the Virginia Cavaliers in Charlottesville, Virginia. Expect possible rain to go into the area. So if you're going to the game tonight, hopefully you brought that poncho, bring those umbrellas. It is going to be a little bit wet out there tonight, but thankfully we shouldn't have to worry about lightning delays, if any. If not, that's not widespread lightning is not the concern, but we will stay a little bit cooler in those lower 70s and upper 60s, sitting pretty mild across the area there in Virginia. Going to the park tonight, probably not the best shot for pickleball, unfortunately. Probably need to go find something else to do tonight. Clubbing is probably going to be a little better than going to Tom Brown Park tonight to go stay inside for sure. Those beach conditions this weekend, mind the moderate rip current risk if you're going to be out on the water, but overall pretty good conditions at Panama City Beach, sitting in those upper 80s to even low 90s. Expect a little bit of a nice cooler breeze. It's going to be very dry and sunny this weekend as this cold front is going to set in for us, so that's going to be really nice for them. And so now we've had so much happen around the country, around Florida, lots going on in the tropics today, and I want to give you one last look at our 7-day forecast for Tallahassee. So hopefully you guys have had a really good night and will continue to have a great night. Hopefully you watch those Noles play football, and if you haven't followed us, follow us on X at FSU Weather, as well as like us on Facebook at FSU Weather. Make sure to also follow us on Instagram at FSU Weather as well. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe on our channel at FSU Weather. And don't forget, we're also on TikTok here on FSU Weather. And again, here's your last look at the 7-day forecast.